So I couldn't do my job if it wasn't for a pharmacist. So when a GP practice, with a typical GP practice, you have about 3 or 4 independent pharmacies around you, plus the bigger chains. But actually having those conversations when you've got problems with patients' medications, when patients need tiding over with their medications, when you're trying to do something around people at end-of-life care, people who are housebound, people with all sorts of conditions, unless you have that link with independent pharmacists, then unfortunately people's health is going to suffer. Now, look, once again, I know there's sort of pros and cons for having the big chains, and I think they're very convenient, but I don't think that personable relationship is there with the average high street pharmacy, and I think it's a crying shame. So I think we need to do something about this.
They've had a really bad PR campaign over the years, actually, pharmacies. I think that there's been nobody really cheerleading for them, and what a fantastic resource they are. We've become so sort of used to just trying to get to see our GP, or, as we heard there in the findings, is to Google our symptoms and maybe buy something online that we think might, cure the itch or ease the pain or whatever it is that we're suffering from. I guess, who do we blame for this, Mike? Whose responsibility is it that we haven't made more noise about the brilliance of local pharmacies?
I think that they are largely unsung in what they do. I mean, don't forget that during COVID, they didn't shut. They were seeing patients, administering their medications. They see more patients in the NHS than any other group of people within the NHS, more than GPs, more than hospitals. They have more patient interactions. The other thing is they're not just there to give out medicines. And I think that we haven't really shouted that enough. They do give minor ailment advice. They give illness advice. They are able to advise people on when to take the medications if they've got problems on their medications. I think that because, in the same way that independent shops are now being superseded by big supermarkets, in the same way that sort of independent online stores are being overcome by Amazon, etc. I think part of this is this natural progression, as they called it, the Amazonification of pharmacies. I think that because they don't have a single unified voice, and because they are sort of so disparate, I don't think there's anyone batting in their corner. But I can guarantee we'll miss them when they're gone.
First thing I do, if there's anything wrong with me or my kids, I don't even try to see my GP really anymore, because it's normally a 2-week wait. I go down to Sue at Busby's, who has helped me through having all my babies, and I'll go straight to Sue and I'll say, what do I need to do about this? And she's always got an answer for me. And then they are very good, aren't they? If they think it's something more serious, they will say you need to go and see your GP. But the irony, though, Mike, when it is harder to see our GPs, and we don't want to go to A&E necessarily and sit there for 6 hours, the irony that we're losing this incredibly undervalued and much needed resource just feels like a really, really bad news story to me.
Oh, I think it's honestly going to put massive workload onto the whole of the NHS. Let's not forget that actually there are moves to try and do an Amazon-style delivery service for prescriptions. Now, once again, if you just get a parcel delivered to your door with your medications, you're going to get no advice there. You can't say, "Oh, I've had some problems with this with these pills." You're not going to be able to ask about minor symptoms. And Sue at Busby, unfortunately, is not going to be there anymore if we don't do something soon. And let's not forget these pharmacy chains, these pharmacies that are shutting are not the chains. They're the small independent ones where they're family run. I've got a friend who's a pharmacist that's been in his family for years. I think that unless we do something, and then the irony of this is that Rishi Sunak's parents owned a small independent pharmacy. So if you think one person could be shouting about it, it'd be a guy who's trying to be the next Conservative leader. But there's the irony for you.
Well, it is the irony. But of course, what Rishi Sunak is also very keen on is greater digitalisation of everything and the greater move towards the march towards more technology. And of course, the problem, as you say there, with more technology in our life, and is that we lose that human contact. We lose that human interaction. I'm thinking about my parents, if they need to go and pick up some medication, as you say, sometimes for the elderly, not necessarily my mum, because she wouldn't like being cast in this way, but there will be some elderly who it might be the only conversation they have all day, Mike, is to go into the pharmacist, pick up their medication, have a chat. Are you okay? How's things? That is what we are losing. It's not just somebody giving you a pack of pills.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the amount of times that we get a call from a concerned pharmacist when they've seen one of our patients, when I say theirs and mine, and I am able to then act on that. And probably I've been able to genuinely save lives because of the actions of pharmacists. And let's not forget that the beauty of the NHS and the thing that's going to save it is not digitalisation, which will play a part. It's not about streamlining services and finding people for appointments. The thing that's going to save the NHS is interactions, human interactions between groups of people. Now, I've been in it 25 years, and now I know that finally, that without that, we're doomed. And I think unless somebody stands up and realises these people aren't just shops that sell medications, they are an integral part of the health service. They deal with the majority of patient contacts, like I've said. Where are they going to go if they start to shut down? And 650 is an alarming rate. It's the trend is that we're going to lose more, particularly in areas that need them the most.